One college that we have, it's gonna bring like 30. Gotta have 30 of these. So I'll stand up and read one. Everybody. Yeah. And you want to try and get the screen working? Ah. Try it. Whatever.
I mean, we can. Word it, and then ask them to post it. Word it. Yeah. I've never seen it before. What is the error? Unfortunately, that's gonna be a. Yeah, just for all that. Reach out. Alex Brown will send it tomorrow. Yeah. We can, that's fine. We'll get better reports. Yeah, so then. Good. This. And this is the class I think. Yeah, we actually set the deal. Yeah. It figures, right? Yeah. Something's ready to go. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Right away. Yeah, you can do that like right. So. Yeah, yeah. It says stop. Thanks, so.
Yeah.
You ready to go?
Welcome to the October 9th Development Commission meeting. I'd like to start out with a moment of prayer and silence for compatriot, a really great guy that passed way too early, Jamie Freeze, who ran the BVA portion of planning and zoning department. So if you would take a moment to reflect on those that are dear to us. We start the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. The flag is over here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just to go over parts of the agenda for anyone that's here for 4691 Central College, 7801 Olentangy River Road, or 2219 Holt Road. Those cases have had tabling requested, so they will not be heard tonight, and you don't need to wait through until that time. So if you're here for that, I'm sure you'll be posted about those when they come back up. Our first case is Z25-028 1100 Georgesville Green Drive.
Please see your supplemental packet. The Greater Hilltop Area Commission's standard recommendation form and for an updated site plan. The 1.87 acre site consists of one undivided parcel in the LC3 Limited Commercial District. The applicant requests the AR1 Apartment Residential District to allow for a multi-unit residential development. North and west of the site are single-unit dwellings in the R2 Residential District. East of the site are undeveloped parcels in the LC3 Limited Commercial District. South of the site are condominiums in the LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District. Companion CB25-054 has been filed to vary the minimum building lines along Hall Road to allow water vaults and hot boxes within the building setback and commits to a site plan with up to 48 dwelling units. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Hilltop Land Use Plan, which recommends low, medium density residential land uses at this location. The site is also subject to complete adoption of Columbus citywide planning policies design guidelines. The site is within the boundaries of the Greater Hilltop Area Commission, whose recommendation has not been received when this report was finalized. The Columbus Multimodal Thoroughfare Plan identifies Hall Road as a suburban community connector requiring 100 feet of right-of-way. The requested AR1 district will allow a multi-unit residential development that is compatible with the density and development standards of adjacent multi-unit residential developments to the west and south of the site. Although the proposal exceeds the density in the Columbus citywide planning policies, Hilltop Land Use Plan's recommendation of low, medium density residential, staff recognized the proposal's consistency with the plan's residential recommendation. And the city's recommendation is for approval.
Questions?
But you did receive in the supplemental packet, the Hilltop.
Yes, and their recommendation was for disapproval.
Right. Daniel, traffic,
Nothing to add to the staff report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
right, and Hunter?
Planning is no additional comments.
Okay. Are there people here to speak for this one? In the audience? Okay. We're going to hear from the applicant first, and then if there looks like there's only two of you, so you're both welcome to speak. David?
Thank you, Chair Ingerson. So having just heard the city staff report, want to support the recommendation of approval based upon our commitments to site plan, architecture, C2, P2 guidelines, et cetera. You're going to hear from some of the adjacent property owners and homeowners association leadership here in a minute. I don't think the Greater Hilltop is here, but we visited with them the night before last, and their recommendation is disapproval. 0 votes. It's 0 to whatever number it was. That's the baseline of where we are here. The existing zoning of this property back from 2002 is an LC3. In the LC3 district, someone can come in by right under the existing LC3 Title 33, and they can develop this property with commercial uses. Someone can come in here today and do a retail strip. It's a multi-tenant retail building. In fact, if you look up at the screen or the computers in front of you, you see the houses to the west, you see that vacant lot to the west of that. That is currently under permitting for a multi-tenant retail building in the rear yard of those residences. And so with that C3, and a multi-tenant building, you can imagine what that is going to mean for the property. Number one, it's going to mean that the access point is exactly where it's shown on this site plan. But it's also going to mean active commercial traffic at the property, in and out of that access point, in and out of the intersection there of Georgesville Green and Hall. It's also going to mean service to those retail buildings, whether that's deliveries with box trucks or whether that's refuse service, whatever the case may be. So the proposal before the commission, we believe, we think we rightly believe, is a down zoning from the existing zoning of the property. We have taken these buildings, we have shifted them down to the south as far away as we can from the single family residences to the north. We've come up along the north property line. We have preserved a 25-foot perimeter buffer. We've committed in that perimeter buffer to either maintain, preserve existing vegetation in there that's worth preserving, and where it's not, to come in and augment that vegetation, as opposed to coming onto the site, clear cutting and doing a row of trees. We think preservation of what's worthwhile to preserve there is going to serve as a better buffer. You can see along the east side of the property, there's a stream corridor protection zone there. Of course, that is all preserved. We came along the east side of building 2 and created a small dog run, dog park for future residents here. Along the south side of these buildings, it'll be a shared use path that gets installed. That's what we recently heard from traffic management of what needs to happen there. So we would be constructing a shared use path along there. That's going to tie into the existing sidewalk networks, which you can see there, that goes up into the neighborhood. The city also has a larger plan to do some other shared use path pedestrian network improvements in the neighborhood. The last thing that I'd like to say, and certainly reserve some time after we hear from some of the adjacent property owners, is, as you all know, the city is underway with the process of its zone-in phase 2. Not all of the city is identified in that zone-in phase 2. This one is. And so it's our expectation, depending, of course, upon city timing, that this sometime in the summer of 26 would go into one of those phase 2 districts, which would allow by right multifamily residential on this property. We happen to be, 6-8 months or so ahead of that timeline, but in the very near future, I think that it is universally anticipated that this property have multifamily allowed on it by right under that phase 2 of zone N. Certainly some traffic considerations here. You heard from Mr. Moorhead. We've engaged directly with Mr. Moorhead, both in terms of the filing of the application, in terms of sharing feedback from the Greater Hilltop Area Commission, with whom we met their zoning committee twice, their full commission once, and expressed some of the neighbor concerns about this access point. Well, you can't access this site from Hall Road. From a traffic engineering perspective, that flat just doesn't work, because as people are turning in, you're going to cause backups out on the Hall Road, and it's just not the safe configuration. The existing commercial zoning identifies that access point off of Georgesville Green Drive as being the appropriate location, and based upon the city's expert analysis from a traffic management perspective, it remains the appropriate access point for the property. So that's what we've got. Hayden, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, and so we'll step aside unless there are any questions, and
I think we'll hear from the speaker and then get you back up here. Whichever of the both, one or both you could come up and share the microphone. As is the rule with city council, you have 3 minutes to state your case, and please don't be too redundant between speakers. Thank you. State your name and where you're from, and go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Rick Kitchen. I am a resident of Georgesville Green. We are a diverse community of 105 single-family houses on 32 acres of mature established neighborhood for over 23 years. Currently served by Southwestern City Schools and Columbus City Schools. We have the one entrance to the exit substreet, as you see on the map above. Major thoroughfare, we have an egress out to Hall Road, which is a major thoroughfare which runs west to east for commuting purposes, for local school district bus transportation, and City of Columbus provided services. The property previously had a single family home existing on it at one time. And it actually had a driveway exiting onto Hall Road at one time. Again, that was over 20+ years ago. The parcel again is, in question is zone R2 as well as C3 as of 2002. Basically, our biggest concern as a community is safety. As you look over Hall Road and the amount of density of traffic and multifamily units, single-family homes and townhomes that are now exist quite immense and frankly not very well planned, as the infrastructure has failed to keep up. The state that the impact on the neighborhood character and adjacent properties would be minimal. We don't agree with that. Safety issues will be prominent with the traffic and change to neighborhood traffic patterns and usage. Property values potentially would be affected and going down. Neighborhood would be less attractive as well as the families and potential buyers. The character of our 23-year-old plus community indeed would be affected greatly. If you look over the infrastructure of Hall Road from Georgesville Road to Norton Road, which is approximately 1.5 miles, there are currently 9 apartment complexes and 3 residential areas off of Hall Road, 2 small business strip malls, Norton Road and Hall Road, and 2 other businesses, and a warehouse district on the other side near car dealerships and Auto Mall, which is right next to the overpass over 270. That allows also semi-trucks to go up and down Hall Road frequently and daily to exit and travel onto Hall Road. Also, all the area current apartment entrances exiting onto Hall Road. So all of those 9 apartment complexes all exit onto Hall Road. This would be the first residential area to basically egress through a substreet through an existing and established neighborhood. If you go further west on Hall Road into Norton, there are additional 750 apartments on the corner of Galloway and Hall Road. So there are quite a few apartments that are going up. Basically, Hall Road is seriously lagging behind in how the planning was completed. We only recently updated the corner of Georgesville Road and Hall Road to add an additional lane. It is extremely dangerous to make a left turn from Georgesville Green Road onto Hall Road due to the amount of traffic flow. It is worse during the winter time. Attempts have been made by fellow residents for new traffic studies to no avail as of right now. We also have a lack of parks, crosswalks, sidewalks off Hall Road. The infrastructure for our community is still set for 2002 and not 2025. Again, safe sidewalks, safety measures, all those areas would be really, beneficial. But again, we feel that everything will be backed up. We are kind of surrounded by apartments right now. Again, on the south of us, the new apartments over at the retreated site of Creek, which 264 was a KCG development from Indiana for about $63 million. Next to our apartments, next to our residents, we have concerns about that. We tried to reach out to have good neighbor agreements with them. They did not reach back out to us with multiple attempts. So we have concerns about that. The gentlemen have contacted and reached out to us. We appreciated that. We would like to go through the process and kind of state. If you look at Georgesville Green Road, again, the backup of the school buses going in and out, that egress and having the exit going out onto Georgesville Green, that would definitely complicate safety issues we have children that's going on and off the school buses. We have residents that go in and out throughout the day. Again, we're a small community of 105 houses, but again, we feel strongly that still would be a piece of a safety issue. And on the west property that he was referring to, it is going to be a 4-tenant business. We, as a community, would quite frankly prefer a local businesses on that particular land. Again, it would give an opportunity possibly for additional small businesses to come up, and again, within walking distance of our community. So again, I personally, when Hall Road is busy as it is, frankly, I would not walk up and down Hall Road. Hall Road is not conducive for walking, for biking. The bridge is in disrepair and it's overpass in 270. There's a lot that needs to be done and to be caught up on Hall Road. If you have ever been on Hall Road, you would understand my concerns that I'm voicing here on that.
Thank you. I don't know how much time we have left.
I know you've got 3 minutes as well.
Oh, appreciate it. Wesley DeWitowitz, I'm also a resident of Georgesville Green and HOA trustee board member. Question right off, I didn't hear it get read, but did we get a chance to read off the recommendation from the Greater Hilltop Area Commission?
If that's how you want to spend your time.
I just want, again, I don't know if everybody got a chance to read or not, because I'm really just going to go ahead and second a lot of things that you've already heard. Maybe I'll be a little bit more passionate or not, or whatnot, but the time that I've lived in Georgesville Green, the reason I bought my home was in part due to that, our canopy there. We were like cut off a little bit, you know, we had this little haven for us. It blocked out some of the sounds. You know, we didn't get as much foot traffic, but now that some of the trees have already been cut down for soil testing, we have people walking through. You can see straight into our community. In the 5 years that I've been at Georgesville Green, I've seen several car accidents at that intersection, including a bus accident. I've seen cars get flipped over and end up across the street in the pond where those apartments are that you can see right there on the map. It's my profound belief that if we continue to build apartment communities in such a small place, it's only going to compound our safety issues. I won't go ahead and read the recommendation here. Everybody can go ahead and do that at their leisure, but I do believe that it would be more conducive for us in our community if that parcel, if that property was allocated something for the community, rather it was a playground for children, a park, commercial, independent small business owners. Our community alone could help small businesses thrive there, and it would provide us a better, honestly, more appeal to bring in more homeowners. With that, I'm just going to rest my time.
Thank you. We'll hear from the applicant again, and he'll address some of the points brought up. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Ingerson, to address the issues that the gentleman raised. Traffic, of course, was a significant portion of the discussion. And as it relates to traffic here, we know that the property is currently zoned in the LC3. And so the potential generation of traffic under an LC3 is greater than the traffic that's going to be generated by 48 1- and 2-bedroom apartment units. Infrastructure planning is certainly not an issue that we can control. I think part of the issue, as Mr. Kitchen mentioned, is that it's 2025, and his belief is that the infrastructure is set here for 2002. However, when you're talking about impact on that existing infrastructure, same argument with traffic. A commercial multi-tenant retail or restaurant building is going to have greater impact on that existing infrastructure, adequate or not, than 48 1- and 2-bedroom apartment units. As it relates to safety issues, again, same exact argument. Worse if this is a commercial development than 48 1- and 2-bedroom units. The access location at Hall Road. If this is whatever type of C3 use comes in there, this is going to be those would be greater traffic generators than 1- and 2-bedroom units. As it relates to parks, we have, at the urging of neighbors and the area commission, created a small amenity over here on the east side with the dog park. That was an addition, and all applicants in this process under the code have to pay the PDO, the city's parkland dedication ordinance. So we will be contributing to parks. As it relates to pedestrian infrastructure, there will be the installation of the shared use path here along the south side of the property. Also, as it relates to tree canopy, I mentioned previously, and it's self-evident from the site plan, we are preserving the 25 feet along the north, and whether this develops under a C3 or apartment residential, that tree canopy is going to be removed to accommodate development, as you see over on the west on the screen with what happened at some point in the past with the commercial development that is going in there. It was mentioned by Mr. Kitchen, and we do appreciate that. But the commission should know that we did reach out to Mr. Kitchen and others in the homeowners association very early on in this process. I reached out to them. Hayden Myers reached out to them. We told them we're happy to come out and meet with them in person, outside of the area commission process, outside of the, development commission process, for coffee or a neighborhood presentation. They opted to, not engage with us and to allow the process to play out, here in the public hearing, which is fine, and certainly they're right. So at the end of the day, we have a C3 zoned piece of property. We are proposing a use that is less intense, therefore a down zoning from the existing zoning on the property. We've got a property that is contemplated under the phase 2 of Zone N to be changed by city initiative here in the next 8 months or so to allow multifamily residential by right. We just happen in this case to be taking an opportunity while the property is being actively listed for sale. Hopefully I've addressed the issues raised by the gentleman. Certainly happy to answer any questions from anybody on the commission. Grateful for the city staff's analysis and their recommendation of approval, and hopefully the commission can send this on to city council with a recommendation of approval to let city council make this ultimate decision.
Questions for the applicant?
I just want a clarification. You did reach out to the area commission?
We had 2 meetings with the zoning committee, a full meeting with the Greater Hilltop Area Commission, and separately reached out to the adjacent property owners offering to meet directly with them. Yes, ma'am.
I thought that's what you said, but then I thought I caught you saying that you had reached out and someone did not want to meet with you.
The neighbors,
Okay.
the neighbors, but the area commission, we did conclude that process Tuesday.
Thank
The phase 2, zone in phase 2. I've seen maps, but they haven't been that fine grained. So are you saying that the multifamily would be specifically on Hall Road? Or is that, because my understanding was they were still using like Georgesville as focus areas, that they were still doing that with the zone.
The information planning can share is that the mapping for phase 2, the draft land use recommendations that'll inform the zoning
Right.
districts. It's ongoing currently. That there's a draft recommendation for mixed use here.
For mixed use here.
Correct.
Yes, okay, and that's for not just Hall Road, and not just Georgesville, but down Hall as well.
I can't speak to the entire corridor, but
Okay.
this parcel
This parcel would be a mixed use
currently as a draft.
as the draft.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to understand that.
And the mixed use allows multifamily standalone by right. It doesn't require mixed use. At least as far as we know, none of us have seen the language yet, but that's certainly consistent with what happened in phase 1.
One of the issues the neighbors raised is traffic. Based on your presentation, definitely from C to residential, you're down zoning it. Were you able to make the case to know that if, as it's currently zoned, there'll be more traffic generation and potential for accidents than what you're proposing for 48 units?
Mr. Onwukwe, I'm not a traffic engineer, so with that caveat, we do have a traffic engineer in the room. When the traffic engineers undertake this analysis, as I'm sure you know, they undertake the analysis under the ITE manual that talks about different traffic generators. When you look at the family of C3 uses that are allowed here by right, smaller restaurants, et cetera, I believe, and I'm not a traffic engineer, that ITE manual would demonstrate that a multi-tenant, mixed retail restaurant building here would be a greater traffic generator than 48 1- and 2-bedroom units.
You made that case.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now,
Although that's a pure numbers,
That's
that's not a timing, because they're vastly different.
Sure.
Timing.
sure. And apartments and and you guys have seen me here plenty, I do a fair number of apartment zonings. Apartments don't act like single family houses in terms of traffic generation. There's not a 7 to 9 peak and then a 4 to 6 peak. Apartment residents are spread out throughout the course of the day, as opposed to, let's say if this was let's just say for the sake of this, it's an ice cream shop, everybody's going to go get ice cream 7. So that's when that's going to be a heavy generator, or a restaurant, it's going to be a heavy generator in the morning. Or if it's say a First Watch, and then there's going to be heavy, generation at lunch and at breakfast. And so, yeah, it's the case that we think that we have made is that this is a lesser traffic generator than the apartment units. Something else I wanted to say, I'm losing it. Anyway,
We don't have anything to add.
No, this is with the concurrent CB.
Well, motion to say, Dan, sorry.
Just from looking at the site design, it's appropriately scaled, it's set back from the road, it provides enough buffer. I think it's a good plan.
thank you.
So you just, that's it.
Motion to vote. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Call the roll, please.
Denise Keith Shanklin,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
I'm struggling with this. I really am, because it's a 2000 and whatever, 2 or 3 plan that's calling for the medium density and low to medium density, but I do think it's a good plan. And I'm gonna play Marty Anderson today, and I am going to 29. Oh, it's a 2019 plan. Oh, well, then I'm still going with Marty, and I am going to vote now.
Dan Quinn,
Yes.
Dan Friedelman,
Yes.
Joe Emerson,
Yes. You are approved.
Thank you all very much.
If those in opposition, you can certainly go to the city council meeting and speak your points there, because they're not to vote. We just provide a recommendation. Thank you. Case number 2, Z25-025, 3270 Westerville Road. Jack, hello.
I'm here. The site consists of one undeveloped parcel within the R1 residential district. The applicant requests the LM Limited Manufacturing District to allow a self-storage facility. To the north of the site is an automobile dealership in the CS Community Service District within Mifflin Township. To the south is a religious facility in the R1 residential district. To the east are automobile dealerships in the CS Community Service District within Mifflin Township. To the west is an undeveloped parcel in the R1 residential district. Size within the planning boundaries of the Northeast Area Plan, which recommends office, commercial, light industrial land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Northeast Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. Limitation text restricts the allowable uses to self-storage, outdoor storage of RV, boat, and motor vehicles, all C4 uses, and includes supplemental development standards addressing building height and building materials. The Columbus Multimodal Thoroughfare Plan identifies Westerville Road as a suburban community corridor requiring 120 feet of right-of-way. The requested LM Limited Manufacturing District will allow a self-storage facility at this location. Restricts the allowable uses to self-storage, outdoor storage of RV, boat, motor vehicles, and all C4 uses, and includes supplemental development standards addressing building height and building materials. Staff notes that the requested LM district is consistent with the Northeast Area Plan's land use recommendation and existing development and zoning pattern along this portion of Westerville Road. Therefore, City Department's recommendation is for approval.
Thank you. Traffic
No further comments.
and Hunter, planning.
Planning has no additional comments.
Um,
SBC actually owns the property to the north, which is in the unincorporated area and it's owned commercially. And so the owners came to us and said, we'd like to develop the property. It's currently zoned rural residential. Given the limited visibility up on Westerville Road, it's got a 30-foot road that leads back to the property. And we talked with some developers and the thought being, it certainly makes sense to do personal storage back here. It's a destination use. And so we're before you this evening requesting the LN so that we can do a personal storage back there. It doesn't generate traffic. We were, when we went through the preliminary studies, we talked with the state of Ohio about what kind of traffic generation would result from the site. And they had no comment when we were able to provide them with traffic generation. So we think it's an appropriate use. Again, the property owner has abuts the property all the way along the northern boundary of this property. So I can answer any questions. We did have the support of the northeast area.
Is there anyone in the audience here to speak on this case? Not seeing any, and you have approval. Motion to vote? Seconds?
Seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Call the roll, please.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Dan Lundquist,
Yes.
Dan Fertelman,
Yes.
Janice Keys Shanklin,
Yes.
Karen Woodson.
Yes, you are approved.
Thanks, folks.
Moving on to case number 5, Z25-011, 1696 North Hague.
Please see your supplemental packet for 83 letters of opposition. The 8.34 acre site consists of 2 parcels, one undeveloped and one developed with a single unit dwelling in the R rural district. The applicant requests the AR1 apartment residential district to allow for the development of an apartment complex with 198 dwelling units. North and west of the site are single unit dwellings in the R rural district of Franklin Township. East of the site are railroad tracks and the LI Limited Industrial District in Franklin Township. South of the site are single unit dwellings in the SR Suburban Residential District. Companion CV25-024 has been filed to vary building height, building lines, and perimeter yard. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Traeview Roberts Area Plan, which recommends very low density residential land uses at this location. The site is also subject to early adoption of Columbus citywide planning policies design guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the West Side Area Commission, whose recommendation is for disapproval. The Columbus Multimodal Thoroughfare Plan identifies Hague Avenue as an urban community connector requiring 80 feet of right of way. The requested AR1 district will allow multi-unit residential development that is compatible with the density and development standards of adjacent multi-unit residential developments to the north and northeast of the site. Although the proposal exceeds the density of the Traeview Roberts area plans, recommendation of very low density residential, staff recognizes adjacent multi-unit residential developments of similar densities to the north and northeast of the subject site as a mitigating factor for support of the proposed use. The proposal also meets the city's objective to provide more housing in all neighborhoods throughout Columbus. City Department's recommendation is for approval.
Traffic, Daniel.
Access to this site is under the jurisdiction of the Franklin County Engineers Office. a traffic impact study has been approved for this application, and the necessary traffic commitments would be incorporated into the ordinance for the concurrent council variance application and referenced in the ordinance for this rezoning application. I'm happy to answer questions.
Under planning,
Planning has no additional comments.
okay. Mike, would you like to speak your piece here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Mike Shannon on behalf of the applicant, LGG. By way of introduction, LGG is the largest developer of affordable, attainable housing in the United States. They've consistently ranked in the top 3 for the last 20 years in that regard. And they have approximately 28,000 units in 11 different states as we speak. They have targeted Ohio as a priority, and Central Ohio in particular. They have done one project that's going vertical in Whitehall on Main Street. And I would like to stress that this is not a market rate housing project where they're doing 30% of the project at 80% of the AMI to qualify for an abatement. This is full spectrum attainable housing from 30% AMI up to 80% AMI. There's a very significant difference. Obviously, 100% of these units would be attainable housing. You have heard ad nauseum about the housing crisis in this Central Ohio area from a market rate standpoint and from an affordability standpoint. It's important to note that LGG constructs their units identical, whether they're affordable or market rate. The proposed development here is about 198 units, and it's a $50 million project. LDG, because of its experience having done this for 30 years, provides a variety of different services that you wouldn't necessarily associate with a housing developer. They have their own property management company, a wing. There are no third-party rendering of services in their development. Secondly, they have their own residential services organization. You'll see the WODAs of the world here recently, who I've done some work for, where on site they are adding some local nonprofit representatives a few hours a week at the office to make sure that the occupants can access additional social services, to make sure they can keep the housing that they couldn't afford to begin with. LDG actually has its own arm that does the residential services. Included in that are a variety of programs for their residents that help them access a variety of social services. LDG has also contributed $1 million to a scholarship fund for residents, children who live in these units to pay for their college education. They do 3 per state per year, and it's a commitment for 10 years. They also, on several occasions, have actually developed their own Montessori school in the jurisdictions where they are, either on site or in close proximity, to provide that benefit for their residents. Now, I need to be candid with you. There's very strong opposition to this development. The neighborhood is very emotional, and they're very sincere in their concerns and in their fears. We were told repeatedly that they did not want us as neighbors. They were concerned about their personal values. And while it was a little bit over the top, I do appreciate their candor and the fact that from day one, they made it clear they did not want this development. Despite assertions that we really hadn't made any progress during the 6 months we met with them in the 4 separate meetings, I would just like to refer to the site plan and advise you as follows. In our very first meeting, which was very contentious, and you'll have that, they asked us, it was around April 2nd, we had a trash compactor close to the southern perimeter, which backed up to some of the residents' houses. They asked us to move that. They asked for additional screening on the south and additional landscaping on the south because it's somewhat of a heavily wooded area on our property line. At every meeting, they asked us to go away, but they also asked us to reduce our density. They asked us to move our access drive. It was formerly on the south side of the development and was directly across the street from some neighbors who had some legitimate concerns. I believe that was called Cherokee Drive, if I'm not mistaken. They also insisted that we should move that access if we ever thought we did approval. Subsequently, on May 7th, we met with them again and they had some additional requests. But at that meeting, we did show them some changes. We agreed to provide a vinyl fence on 3 sides, the southern perimeter, the western, or the eastern perimeter, and the northern perimeter. And along our frontage, we agreed to put a 5-foot aluminum picket fence, more decorative. We also agreed to a tree preservation area on the southern perimeter to the extent possible. We're going to maintain the existing trees there. And at that time, we got into some discussions about traffic issues, which were obviously brought up. In all candor, the initial traffic impact study did not recommend a southbound left-hand turn lane. We felt that it was needed, whether or not the study justified it. As Daniel mentioned, this was multi-jurisdictional with City of Columbus and Franklin County engineers. We did reach out to the county engineers and the review agency and expressed our concerns about the southbound turn lane and indicated that we wanted to put it in even if it wasn't warranted because we had promised it to the neighbors. At the end of the day, both traffic agencies concurred that the southbound left-hand turn lane was necessary, appropriate, and warranted. And there was another proposed development going directly across the street that perhaps motivated that. So at that meeting, we also showed them that we wanted to address some of their concerns. We had a parking variance and we had a height variance that would allow us to go above 35 feet. We don't have those variances. But at that meeting, we notified them that we added additional parking to eliminate the need for a parking variance. And we also said that we would comply with the 35-foot height district. And we got rid of those 2 very crucial variances, crucial to our original development. As we proceeded through July, we agreed to move the clubhouse, which is 1 story and centrally located. We moved it to the frontage. They were particularly concerned about 35-foot tall buildings being on the frontage. They thought it would be too looming. So we put the 1-story structure on the frontage. At that time, we redesigned our access and moved it to the north and west corner, addressing the concerns, I believe the last name was Drinkwater, of a neighbor across the street. We also provided pedestrian connectivity to the site and within the site. You also see in our entrance there on Hague that we actually have a turnaround area big enough to accommodate a bus. And as I mentioned, we added those parking spaces and changed our request for a height variance. So at the end of the day, we've tried to be a good neighbor. Our neighbors made it quite clear that they did not want us to be there. And, you know, we tried to persuade them that based on my experience and more importantly, based on a raft of studies, these types of projects do not cause a diminution in value. You know, everybody deserves the right to have suitable housing. And it could be an apartment, it could be a condo, it could be a house, but it's home to somebody. And the people that live here are just like you and me. As a matter of fact, they're under a microscope more so than tenants in market rate buildings. These people have to be monitored every year to make sure they're at the appropriate income level, to make sure they still have the job that provides that income level. As they age in place and hopefully their income increases over a period of time, my clients is duty bound to maintain the level of service that they started with. The fact of the matter is in 31 years of doing this and 28,000 units, my clients have sold 1 property of 164 units. They are long-term holders. They are not flippers. They are a fully integrated, full-service, affordable housing conglomerate. And they think that they can make a difference in the quality of life for an enormous sector of our population. This Central Ohio area is growing at 104 people a day. And, you know, they take exception with the 198 units. Well, if you think about 104 people a day, 198 units, that'll satisfy 2 days worth of new people locating into our town. So obviously that's convenient math for me, but the reality is these people, particularly in these income levels, have no place to go. The 80% AMI is a fantastic mechanism. Extending the CRA to the entire city was a fantastic mechanism. But the fact of the matter is 80% of the AMI for a family of four right now is $82,000. Now, these people that are in 30%, 40%, 50%, and you can do the math, it's substantially less. But they deserve the same quality of home as somebody who can afford a market rate, and it's LDG's mission to do that. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'd be happy to address questions now or save them until after the neighbor testimony. We have LDG here, we have Berardi, our architect here, we have Structure Point, our engineer. We also have Lucilli, our construction company here. But by agreement of the party, I'm speaking and they can address specific questions. So thank you for your time and consideration.
I think we'll hear from speakers and point back up.
Thank you, sir.
So three speakers in opposition. No, I'm sorry, is there an air conditioner here?
Yeah.
Please. And you don't have a 3-minute limit.
Thank you. While Nick is passing out some things here, I'd like to mention that the loss of Jamie touches everybody in this community in Columbus. There isn't an area commission that hasn't worked with him, and it is a big loss. I'm glad we don't have to deal with all of that at our meetings. Okay. Board members, my name is Rita Cabral. I reside in the Scioto Woods neighborhood. I am a commissioner with the West Scioto Area Commissioner. In full disclosure, I was the past zoning chair. The current zoning chair and vice chair were unable to attend this meeting, and they appointed Mick and myself to speak for the commission. We come before you today not only as volunteers, but as engaged citizens who are deeply invested in the well-being of our community. We would like to share some of our pressing concerns. LDG Development is unquestionably a leader in affordable housing industry. Likewise, there is no denying the housing crisis facing the city of Columbus. Every individual in this room understands that. However, our concern is not the need for housing. It is with density and the impact of haphazard growth. The City of Columbus zoning code outlines clear purposes for zoning, including protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public, ensuring orderly, manageable, and predictable growth, assisting in implementation of community planning goals, separating conflicting land uses, regulating land use to achieve and maximize public benefit. In the San Margarita area, within a mile and a half of the application, 7,500 beds have been added, primarily approved by the commission. Our community is already doing its part addressing the housing crisis, yet not a single new public safety resource such as police, fire, or EMS, has been added or planned to support this influx. Additionally, we've seen the loss of local retail, including the demolition of a small plaza to make way for housing and recent denial of mixed use, which would have helped balance residential and commercial needs. Traffic on Hague Avenue from Trayview Road to Fisher is already a daily struggle. This stretch was not designed to accommodate current traffic volumes, let alone additional pressure from high-density housing. And Mick will address that further. Where does this leave us in the broader picture of growth? Who is treating this area as a community, as a neighborhood worth planning for thoughtfully? The commission is. This LDG application proposes a drastic upzoning from rural residential, that is 1 home per 5 acres, to high density 24 units per acre on 8.3 acres. This is applying inner city zoning applications to a rural residential area. This is inconsistent with the surrounding development patterns, which include Whispering Creek, Wildwood Village, Abbott Cove, and the new Ateria development. Together, these total roughly 1,200 units, averaging 13 dwellings per acre, nearly half the density that LDG is proposing. This isn't smart growth. It's disjointed, high-impact development that overwhelms existing infrastructure and ignores the careful, consistent feedback from the community. We also want to highlight that the commission has consistently requested reduction in density from LDG at every stage of the review process. It is important to note that all of the above mentioned complexes listed accept housing vouchers and cater to similar tenant profiles. Simply adding another complex of greater density does not solve the housing issues. It compounds infrastructure strain and reduces livability. The commission has voted unanimously, both in zoning and full commission, against this project. The updated staff review suggesting that Hague Avenue mirror Trayview Road indicates the fundamental misunderstanding of these two roads. Very different configurations and expansion potentials. They are not interchangeable corridors. Growth is necessary, but it must be balanced, responsible, and guided by comprehensive planning, not just driven by individual project feasibilities. Therefore, we respectfully request one of the following, that LDGB be asked to reduce the number of units to align with the current average density in the area, or that this development be relocated to a more suitable site within the city, particularly one of the many brownfield areas where LDG has demonstrated national expertise and the city has plenty of. We understand the financial pressures developers face in today's market. However, over-concentrating affordable housing in one already strained area is not a solution. It is irresponsible planning. This area has established zoning guidelines, and we believe they should be respected. Thank you for your time and consideration.
I'm a professional engineer, practiced 40 years in the service, been in construction industry for 40 years in Central Ohio, 20 years, done many major projects. So I have a good understanding. I've been on zoning board in Wisconsin, so I have a good understanding of all the things we have to deal with and you have to deal with. So respectively, have some comments.
The site is within boundaries of the Tracy Roberts Area Plan 2001, which recommends very low density residential. All apartment developments on North Hague Avenue, south of Tracy. Can you pull up the previous map and it'd be helpful to see? No, we can zoom out, but just be very clear. Tracy Road and McKinley are up here. They're high. We have enacted all of our units up there at high density. It's a 4-lane road. Hague Avenue, as you can see, it's a 2-lane road, highly residential. 65 units, this is a site, 65 units, 15 homes right up against it. Residential here. Residential, church, charter school. So Hague Road, all the way down I-70 is very different corridor than 4-lane Trailview, 4-lane McKinley. So that's what we've on planning have felt high density. Maintain this as low density. So again, we've got densities of 15 units per acre in the Hague area, 25 units, 8 units up in the Hague and the Trailview. So good balance. So going forward, that's what we're looking for. The city has recommended properties adjacent to high density. That's not true. They're up over by McKinley. So that's our viewpoint. Would you like to follow through that?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll hear from our speakers from the general public, and we'll bring the applicant back up for.
I have a PowerPoint to show for a couple. It's pulled up if you could say your name. I know there was one for Anita and one for someone else.
Okay, one for Anita, she'll go first. Second.
I'm much longer.
Oh, the child. And then this is for.
Good evening. My name is Anita Mitchell and I own property on Hague Avenue. At the first West Scioto Area Commission meeting, LDG's opening statements were about the safety of their development. They wanted to be good neighbors, and since crime was inevitable, they would be using a spot shotter system like what the Columbus police use. What amazes me and many of my neighbors is LDG's concern about safety and being a good neighbor that starts off with a spot shotter system.
I'm so sorry, how do I advance through this? Everything.
Oh, you'll need to tell me when to advance the slide.
Oh, advance please.
Just get a hand signal.
I'll give you a thumbs up.
Okay, I'll restart that paragraph. That's okay. What amazes me and many of my neighbors is LDG's concern about safety and being a good neighbor that starts off with a spot shotter system. Who will respond to the spot shotter? CPD, Franklin County Sheriffs, or Franklin Township Police? This area is very segmented and services are stretched thin. Franklin Township recently closed a firehouse, yet LDG is looking to add more people to an area that already can't be adequately serviced. Neither the city nor the county has responded with a corresponding expansion of essential services, namely fire, EMS, and police. Where's the basic infrastructure that should be in place before any of the developments start construction? What's being done for the safety of all the people coming into the area, aside from providing amenities? Where are the bus stops, the sidewalks, the street lighting, the grocery stores? None of this infrastructure exists. Currently on Chippewa of Hague, there's a school, and every day at drop-off and pickup, traffic is backed up on Hague. Some days it's been so bad I've waited 30 minutes just to move a half mile to get into my driveway. One neighbor needed medical attention and the squad couldn't get through because of gridlock traffic. Drivers get angry and pull into our driveways all the way up to our homes, 200 to 600 feet, to turn around so they don't have to wait. Sometimes they jump the curb and drive through our yards. Other days there's horn honking, profanity yelling, and tires screeching. I brought this up at every development review, but these issues keep getting kicked down the road. The last developer told me the school wasn't his problem, yet the traffic that all these developments bring certainly adds to the neighborhood problem exponentially. There are no sidewalks on Hague Avenue, yet children from this school walk home during this time of high tension. There are no CODA buses that travel down Hague, so people walking from Whispering Creek to CODA bus stops at Treview and Hague, they walk in the rain, snow, and extreme heat, carrying items with children and at times while pushing strollers on the street. During daylight savings time, it's dark when many of these people are walking. Area development has resulted in a net loss of retail. Continuing to approve massive developments, especially those that far exceed the scale and character of existing neighborhoods without addressing these critical public safety issues, is not just irresponsible, it is the deliberate creation of a known hazard. As an engaged citizenry, we have attended every area commission meeting to standing room only and have made our voices heard. We have participated in Zone In Phase 2 community forums and stated our need for neighborhood retail and walkability. At what cost do we rush to fill a housing quota? Please hear our community and be thoughtful of everyone impacted by this decision. We ask that you respectfully vote no.
If you'll move on to the representation. Again, it's fine. I like it. Okay. Hello, my name is Alex Nichols, and I'm here to speak for the trees and the wildlife. LDG has repeatedly declined to reduce the density of housing in their proposal. The approval of this zoning request would result in the clear cutting of 8 acres of forest, as you can see on this map. In contrast, the tree canopy assessment for 2011 to 2021 recommends protecting trees during development, preserving the existing tree canopy, and managing the urban forest to have a broad range of age distribution. The project would threaten the critical root zones of trees located along the south property line. Many of these 50-year-old trees have critical root systems that extend into the construction zone. From the Columbus Tree Technical Manual, a critical root zone is where roots are located that are required for future health and survival of a tree. Here we can see the trees and their critical root zones. These trees could be susceptible to damage and/or death should these things occur: compaction of soil, mechanical injury, changing an existing grade, and exposing sheltered trees to sun or wind. The City of Columbus demands protection for its public trees through fencing, signage, supplemental irrigation, and policies on how work is performed in the critical root zones. Trees are trees, and we are hoping you will see the benefit of protecting these 50 to 90 feet tall private trees as well. For years, they have been lovingly maintained and contributing to the prosperity of the city through their carbon sequestration, pollution control, stormwater management, climate change mitigation, wildlife forage and habitat, and mental health benefits. The existing tree canopy in our area is between 20 and 25%. Allowing the project to move forward would set our area further behind accomplishing the city's goal of 40% canopy coverage by 2050. P2 states that densities higher than recommended land use can only be appropriate with intelligent site design and significant natural resource preservation. The Treview Roberts Area Future Land Use Plan, as it pertains to the San Margarita sub-area, states that should these rural properties be annexed, redevelopment should preserve open space, natural resources, and other ecologically sensitive areas. We have not seen this in the current proposal. At this juncture, you have a rare opportunity to use your power to preserve these valuable trees and all they provide for the residents, the City of Columbus, and the delicate food chain of the urban wildlife. I believe I have 30 seconds left. Could you hit the little speaker? May I get my phone to play it for you? You can run through these photos quickly. These are photos that area residents have sent me of wildlife that they have seen in the area. There are probably about 30 pictures, so you don't have to go to one, right? That's all the sound was. Just the sound of the neighborhood. That was a bald eagle. You can stop on that one. The bald eagle is nice, but the baby birds look cuter. That's all I have. Thanks so much.
Distinguished commissioners, I'm Angela Tamponi. I'm here to share a few reasons why we oppose this application. This development plan is an ill fit to an existing neighborhood. This neighborhood is not in a major corridor. This part of North Hague Avenue is a single-family residential area and is not zoning equivalent to points north and northeast on Trayview Road. They are very different. Lumping them together is a misrepresentation. Most recent staff report is a troubling admission that this proposal defies the boundaries of adopted plans. Yet despite this, the staff recommends approval. This erodes public trust. It's too dense. This application for 198 units is entirely out of scale with its surroundings. It disregards the C2, P2 land use, which allows a maximum of 80 to 128 units. It is strikingly incompatible with existing low and very low density single-family homes. There needs to be a gradual transition of dwelling types with existing single-family. Affordable single-family homes, the humble duplex, two-story townhomes and condominiums, all of which meets the city's objectives and serve wider demographics, and most importantly, offer a pathway to home ownership. Other sites exist in Columbus that are suitable for the applicant's profile. We are oversaturated in our area. We have absorbed all the downside without any upside benefits. There have not been infrastructure improvements that benefit our neighborhood. We need fresh produce groceries, butcher, barbers, deli, pizza, places that knit together new residents with existing ones, creating a community, not just a warehousing of people for the benefit of very few. In fact, we have a retail deficit due to another developer on Trayview Road that started out telling us they put in 300,000 square feet of retail only to finish with 0. Affordable housing units were eliminated when their landlord, this very seller, Mr. Dellis, sold the land for luxury apartments. This applicant is not a good neighbor. When citizens and our area commissioners repeatedly and over many months asked this applicant to revise their development plan to reduce the number of units and stories, this out-of-state applicant refused every time. They made insignificant changes that cost them little or nothing. They have no interest in the area other than to line their pockets, and we need a different development plan, a different local developer. In summary, in addressing Columbus's housing challenge, let's not create entirely new problems for existing residents. This project does just that. It's a case study in how not to plan a city. It contributes to displacement and instability. It disregards public safety and bypasses community planning processes and exacerbates the very housing issues it claims to resolve. We strongly urge the commission to reject this proposal and instead pursue solutions that are aligned with the needs of Columbus residents, current and future. I'm going to share with you and leave with you a petition signed by over 300 people demanding that this application be revised to properly coordinate and interface with the neighborhood that exists. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Would the applicant come back up, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. First of all, this property was in the R zoning category, they're right, 5-acre lots, because it was annexed into the city of Columbus from the township. That's the holding category. Part of that annexation that is required is a municipal service ordinance that the city indicates they can provide the basic city services. But that annexation would never gone forward. The applicants actually attended the city council meeting and had the opportunity to speak against the annexation. It's convenient to say that they politely asked us to reduce our density over a period of time. That doesn't properly characterize the meetings I was in. There were shouting matches, people stand up and just saying, we don't want you here, we don't want you in our neighborhood. The state-of-the-art security should be something that people would embrace. I guess if they wanted to get rid of the shot scanner, we'd consider it. Those are wired into all the local law enforcement agencies. We have license plate readers. They are a very, very effective law enforcement tool. Doesn't mean that it's applying to our residents. We want to know if other than our residents are parking there. We have a very aggressive maintenance program, and maintaining the sanctity of these living quarters for the people who live here is extremely important to us. And we don't want people there that shouldn't be there, quite frankly. There's the constant referral that this project should be in the inner city. The chairperson has said it repeatedly. I think that that's inappropriate.
That has never been stated.
If anybody was at the,
Michael, take that back.
Order, please.
okay, so I don't have to rebut it because he took it back, because it's been said clearly on many occasions, including by the chair at the reception for that building, and they called the question. There was city staff there. I'm not going to throw Alyssa under the bus. Louis Tila was there. It was an outrageous display, and I'm not going to go into any more detail because they've been very civil and very forthright this evening. My sharp legal mind tells me that there were 5 members. Now there's 4 members present, Mr. Chair. To refresh my recollection, do I need 4 out of 4, or is it a simple majority?
Simple majority, sir.
Okay, I apologize. It's important for my client to hear it. If you do have concerns, if there are things I haven't addressed, I want to be as responsive as possible. I think we demonstrated that we tried to be a good neighbor. We listed all the changes we made that were done at their request. We did not turn a deaf ear to that. What's lost out of the conversation is the fact that of those 1,200 units that have been approved in their area, none of them are the full spectrum of affordable housing. When they say vouchers, they're talking about Section 8, and that's how they label our affordable housing. We don't do Section 8 vouchers. We don't require vouchers. Now, if somebody has a voucher, the fair housing law kicks in and dictates what you do. But again, this is not Section 8 housing for the hundreds of hundreds. I do think that LDG has demonstrated on a national level. And I mentioned the one in Whitehall. The reason I mentioned that is that it's on Main Street. It was a former junkyard. They are right. They do have an expertise at reclaiming environmental brownfields. But there was 3.5 acres contiguous to this site that was in Columbus that fronted on Main Street and Barnett Road. And they needed that 3 acres to make this development work. So the city of Columbus did a boundary adjustment and de-annexed those 3 acres from Columbus to the city of Whitehall because the mayor and every member of council supported the fact that LDG was a national full spectrum affordable housing, and that's what we need. I know of only 2 times in my 44-year career that the city has willingly done a boundary adjustment, de-annexation. The other one I'm aware of was a quid pro quo with Reynoldsburg. It involved the Home Depot and hundreds of thousands of dollars of road improvements. So the fact that the city was willing to part with 3.5 acres on Main Street, Main and Barnett, to make this project happen in Whitehall, a suburb, shows you how important LDG and affordable housing is to the mayor and city council. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I want to share with you that I found a niche within a niche. I've really taken to the affordable housing. And I honestly feel that the 80% of the AMI, where I come from, 82,000 a year is a really, really good job. And that's the 80% AMI for family of 4. The people that we can reach with the 30, the 40, the 50, the 60% are the ones that need it the most. And with that, I'll conclude my comments unless there's additional questions you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Sure.
Yes, sir.
So Mike, the thing I see here is location. And in this particular case, bad location. I know the Main Street site that you're talking about. I live really close to it. I think it's a great location, and the way the site plan works and how it integrates with the neighborhood. This is not anywhere close to that. So
thank you for being here.
Yeah. I mean, the infrastructure is just not there for this type of development at this location.
Not to be argumentative, but we are bringing the infrastructure there.
Well, you're bringing.
There's 80 foot of right of way there.
I doubt it's there right now. I mean, look
That's
at that.
right. That's what annexation is all about, Mr. Perlman.
Are you gonna? Okay, you'll do your sidewalk on your little strip, but is there continuation of the sidewalk anywhere along Main Street has a sidewalk.
It's a quarter mile.
We have sidewalks everywhere.
And the
On
code
Main Street.
requires the sidewalk.
And we have bus. We have a good bus route. Bus 2 goes right along that corridor. Well served.
Well, the reason we had to put a pedestrian access in to our sidewalk is because of the project going right across the street. So the sidewalk is only along our frontage. You're right. There's a gap between us and Broad Street, but it's a 5-minute walk.
Okay.
So I hear you. That's what one of the commission told me the night we were asked about buses. They looked up on the. Thank you. I appreciate your candor. Any other comments?
Right. I love this Simona. I think it's a great project. I think there's a mismatch in the location, and that that's really hard. Because I can appreciate the quality of the work. I understand the AMI. Trust me, I teach that.
I know that.
And
I understand.
then I don't right project, wrong place. I'm in a similar. I'm sorry.
I concur to both of my colleagues.
Well, Mr. Chairman, my sharp legal mind tells me I should table, and I respectfully request it so I can have a full complement of vote. I do appreciate the candor.
Yeah.
Motion to, do we need to accept the table?
You
You just,
What's your vote?
You know, I agree with the sentiment of my three commissioners. But the amount of time and work you put into this, I think they deserve another chance. If your own commissioner said, here are two choices. At least there's something going forward. And I think you give them a chance to do this. So I accept the request for tabling.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
You have to vote though.
You have to vote.
You have to call the vote for a request. So, yeah. Motion to call the vote for a request. Second. Favor, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What if we say no?
Well, we're allowed to say no,
Then it's a vote.
and we vote.
We'd say no.
You're voting no on the table?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want all the questions. I don't see how you're able to reduce the density and get a project that's gonna work this location based on.
You're 1 out of 7, and I'd like the opportunity to speak with all of them. I don't think it's unreasonable. So I can't fathom why you would be opposed to a table under these circumstances.
Okay. You have 3 other votes.
Well, and I've got 40 years, 50 years of experience there too, as opposed to 3 months.
Call the roll. You can vote.
To table. He's gonna.
Vote yes to table, no to not table.
Dan Glenn,
Yes.
Dan Furlman,
No.
Maria Conrad,
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your appearance. Your message is heard. But if they can do something to resurrect their project, you have to let them do it. They've spent a lot of money.
The rain
No, I've slept 3 hours in the past 10 days, like I've.
All day.
Eli is not also misrepresenting us, by the way.
Chairman did not say that he's.
Just want to make that clear. We're concluded for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you.
Could be your neighborhoods next.
You guys don't forget, you have to fill out the form. Yeah, you're here, and what do I do with it?